Hi, so thanks for joining me for EMDR Part 2. Today I want to discuss some of the scientific and theoretical underpinnings of this model. I think perhaps the best place to start is to discuss trauma. So if you're experiencing symptoms of anxiety, depression, anger, jealousy, post-traumatic stress, or relationship issues, you may be experiencing the manifestation of old trauma wounds that you are not even aware of that had a big impact on you. I think when we consider trauma, often what we think about are big T traumas, so the traumas that are war, natural disaster, accidents, things like that, and we completely overlook trauma wounds that can happen that are much more subtle. So your little T traumas, such as feeling shamed by a teacher in school, or embarrassed in front of friends, or ashamed of a certain performance at your job. All of those things can also manifest as trauma symptoms, such as anxiety and depression and PTSD symptoms. So the way that scientists and researchers are finding that trauma actually works is when we have a traumatic experience, big T or little t, we frequently don't process it properly. And when you have this traumatic experience, it comes in and it's in your amygdala and it sends off your lizard brain fight, flight, freeze response. And that keeps you from processing it properly because you're busy fight, flighting, or freezing instead of integrating the information in an adaptive manner. So if your brain never fully processes this material and locks it away in its original form with the fight, flight, freeze response, it's almost like we have all these little time bombs going on in our head that can be subconsciously triggered at any point. You may not realize it, but all of a sudden that old experience is nicked up against and you're experiencing these trauma symptoms and they're manifesting that way. So what research is indicating is that we can actually help the brain reprocess and essentially build new neural circuitry in your brain by using bilateral stimulation. And bilateral stimulation is the same principle as when you're in REM sleep and your eyes go back and forth in your head. Something about that back and forth stimulation allows your right and your left brain to talk in a more effective manner to be able to adaptively process thoughts, feelings, experiences from the day. So imagine if we could take that process and utilize it in therapy to help your brain process properly these experiences that until this point have kind of just been stuck with all the alarm bells going off. So what that looks like is eye movement. So I would go like this and say, follow my fingers, or there are other methods of gentle rhythmic tapping and things like that. And so when we do that in session, what it seems to do is it helps your brain heal itself. Your brain tells us where we need to go. It is able to follow the web of all these events that are connected that we never realized were connected. And somehow with your right and left brain refiling and reprocessing all this information, it allows you just to take out all the adaptive learning from the experience. You can see your experience in the larger context and no longer have the non-adaptive responses that keeps you from functioning as effectively and happily as you can in your life and in your relationships. So thanks for tuning in. That's a little bit about some of the theory behind. Please check out my website for lots of resources on the research. And I think what I'm going to do next is probably provide another video in the coming week or weeks regarding what does an EMDR session look like, because I know that the idea of that can feel really daunting, but it's actually quite simple, and I will break it down for you so that you know exactly what you're in for if you're pursuing this 8 protocol model. Take care.